Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We have been learning the chapter Photosynthesis in higher plants. We learned the actual process of photosynthesis, which includes two steps: photochemical phase or the light reaction, in which ATP and NADPH are formed in the presence of sunlight, and in the second phase, that is dark reaction or C3 cycle or Calvin cycle, using the energy stored in ATP and NADPH, we are producing carbohydrate. Apart from this, there are certain other cycles operating in certain plants. Now we are going to discuss all those type of cycles. Photorespiration. We all know respiration is a process which is happening in all living organisms, including green plants. Throughout the day, green plants respire. That is, respiration is a process of taking in oxygen, utilizing it to break down glucose and give out carbon dioxide to derive energy. At the same time, green plants, in addition to photorespiration, they have one more process, that is photosynthesis. For photosynthesis, actually the opposite is happening. Here carbon dioxide is utilized and oxygen is released. So, for respiration to happen, they have mitochondria, and photosynthesis to happen, they have chloroplast. During daytime only photosynthesis is possible because light is available only during daytime. Whereas respiration is a process which happens throughout the time. So, clear, these two processes are happening in a normal plant. But there are certain plants which are adapted to live in temperate conditions. You know temperate condition, tropical region and a temperate region. Temperate region is comparatively colder climatic condition. They are plants like beans, cotton, rice, wheat and barley. They undergo an unnecessary process. That unnecessary process is called a photorespiration. As the name suggests, photo means light, respiration presence of light. So they already have their proper respiration happening. In addition to that, the photosynthesizing tissues, instead of doing completely photosynthesis, partially they do respiration in the presence of sunlight. Then we call it as photorespiration. This is also called a C2 cycle because the first intermediate compound is a 2-carbon compound. This is also called a photosynthetic carbon oxidation cycle, so otherwise called a PCO cycle, and there is glycolate cycle also because the respiratory substrate is glycolate. So it is called a glycolate metabolism or glycolate cycle also. Now, where is it found? In temperate plants. It occurs in 3 organelles in the cell. One is chloroplast, where actual photosynthesis is happening. Second is peroxisome, which is an organelle for storing starch, protein, etc. And mitochondria, where respiration is happening. So 3 organelles are involved: chloroplast, peroxisomes and mitochondria. Now, when is it happening? It happens under certain conditions like high temperature, high light intensity and high oxygen concentration. Now let's see the overall process of C2 cycle. So initially I told you 3 organelles are involved: chloroplast, peroxisomes and mitochondria. It starts in the chloroplast, and you know that usually during photosynthesis, RUBP is the carbon dioxide acceptor. It will accept carbon dioxide and become PGA. And 2 molecules of PGA will be entering into the C3 cycle and producing glucose, right? But here what happens is, this is a slightly different cycle. So the first stage of addition of carbon dioxide to RUBP is catalyzed by an enzyme called Rubisco. Rubisco is ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. That means it is an enzyme having both oxygenation reaction and a carboxylation reaction. That means it can favor the addition of oxygen to RUBP, or it can catalyze the addition of carbon dioxide to RUBP. So it has the same active site for binding oxygen or carbon dioxide. But who binds will determine what reaction it is going to catalyze. Or if carbon dioxide is binding, carboxylation will happen. If oxygen is binding, oxygenation will happen. Actually, we want carbon dioxide to bind and carboxylation happens and a C3 cycle goes on. As a result, carbohydrate is produced. But here what happens? Rubisco is having oxygenation activity. That is, we told the conditions: if temperature is high, light intensity is high and oxygen is high, then instead of carbon dioxide, who will bind with RUBP? Who will bind with the Rubisco? Oxygen will bind. It will act as an oxygenation reaction, catalyzing the addition of oxygen to RUBP. As a result, instead of 2 PGA molecule, we will get 1 PGA molecule and 1 phosphoglycolate. So in normal photosynthesis, 2 PGA will form, both will enter into Calvin cycle. Whereas here, instead of 2, only 1 PGA will be there and 1 phosphoglycolate, which is not needed for us, that is also produced. Okay, so PGA will enter into C3 cycle and normal photosynthesis will happen. Remember always, any cycle happens, C3 cycle is unavoidable in green plants. It will happen. The other cycles we are mentioning are additional cycles. Okay, so PGA will go into C3 cycle. Now phosphoglycolate is there. Now what happens to this phosphoglycolate? It will undergo dephosphorylation. Phosphorylation means what? Addition of phosphorus. Now dephosphorylation means what? Removal of phosphorus. So from phosphoglycolate, phosphorus will be removed to form glycolate and 1 phosphorus will be left. Now this glycolic acid, glycolate means glycolic acid. This glycolic acid from chloroplast, it will come to peroxisome. Okay, after reaching peroxisome, this glycolic acid will now combine with oxygen to form glyoxylate compound. Okay, glyoxylate, that is glycolic acid or glycolate, will combine with oxygen in the peroxisome to form glyoxylate and hydrogen peroxide will form. Now this glyoxylate undergoes deamination, removal of amino group, and it forms an amino acid called a glycine. This is happening in the peroxisome. So what happens? Glycolic acid coming inside the peroxisome will combine with oxygen to form glyoxylate. Glyoxylate will undergo deamination to form glycine. Now this glycine will be transported to mitochondria, third organelle. There glycine will be combining with NAD plus and form another amino acid called a serine and NADH. Along with the 2 more compounds will form carbon dioxide and ammonia. See, carbon dioxide is released here. Actually during photosynthesis what should happen? Carbon dioxide has to be fixed. Instead of that it is being released. This is one of the reasons why we say it is a wasteful process. Now the serine which is formed, which is an amino acid, will now become hydroxypyruvic acid. This is happening again in the peroxisome. That means from the mitochondria, serine will go back to peroxisome and then it will be converted into hydroxypyruvic acid. This hydroxypyruvic acid will combine with NADH and undergoes reduction to form glyceric acid and NAD+. Now this glyceric acid will be shifted back to chloroplast. So in that, this glyceric acid will combine with ATP to form PGA and ADP. PGA will get converted into the carbon dioxide acceptor RUBP again. But look here, ATP is supposed to be formed during photosynthesis, but here what is happening? ATP is being used. So that way also it is a wasteful process. In photorespiration, ATP is not formed. Carbon dioxide also, instead of getting fixed, it is released. So it is called a wasteful process in plants. That's why all plants don't have it. Only the temperate plants which under high oxygen intensity, high light intensity and temperature, this is happening. Okay. So this is the entire pathway. So it happens in 3 organelles: chloroplast, peroxisomes and mitochondria. So first respiratory the compound formed is PGA, which will undergo C3 cycle to ensure normal photosynthesis, but only phosphoglycolate is additionally forming, which will enter into the C2 cycle, releasing carbon dioxide and utilizing ATP and unnecessary process in plants. What determines whether the plant will undergo C2 cycle? It is the concentration of oxygen and carbon dioxide. If oxygen is more than carbon dioxide, it will bind with the active site of rubisco and it acts as an oxygenation reaction. Whereas if it is carbon dioxide is more, then it will combine with the carbon dioxide to form what? The C3 cycle, normal photosynthetic cycle. Hope you understood the concepts very well. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion. Thank you for watching.